welcome to our Facebook Live event, In Conversation with casting director Rick Millikan.
Hello.
I'm going to tell everybody out in Facebook land, let everyone you know who's interested in acting about this conversation. Share it. The more likes and loves you give us, the more people will see it and benefit from the information from our esteemed industry guest. I will be asking questions that have been submitted to me, and when somebody here in the audience is present who's asked a question, please stand so that Mr. Millikan can see who you are. We are also taking questions from Facebook, so any questions you have for our esteemed casting director, submit them online and they will be given to me by Ian and Becky, who are sitting in the front row. So first and foremost, thank you for giving us a Saturday of your time, all in return for a bottle of water. That is it. Two. So that's true. I have known Rick Millikan for years, and before that I knew him by reputation. He is at the top of the industry, a casting director who knows the business thoroughly, understands actors, has a reputation for being fair, tough, but fair to every actor who comes in to his office. He's worked both on films and ongoing series, and he has a wealth of experience to share with us today. And I am just delighted and honored to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Howard.
So first question is your story. How did you come about?
We want to hear that whole entire
Yes,
thing?
we do.
Well, this is my 31st year in this business, in casting. I started in 1987. I was started as an assistant, as we all do. I was on the TV series Dynasty, the original one, with the Aaron Spelling show. I started there as an assistant to Mark Schwartz and did that for a little while. Then from there I moved on to MGM Television, where I went on staff. I worked as an assistant there, and then I worked my way up to director of casting there, which is where I first got my feet wet as actual casting online. They let me do, that's where I started working on In the Heat of the Night under Mary Jo Slater. I did that for a while, and I did the Young Writers for a while, and then I moved over to Columbia Pictures Television. I worked under Rick Jacobs as his director of casting for several years, and then from there I went out on my own, and I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do, but they did give me I did a pilot in-house at the time. It was called Route 66. It was a remake of the old one. That got picked up, and when I went out on my own, they gave me the series, so it was my first sort of venture into my own company. Unfortunately, the series only lasted 6 episodes, so after that, I was looking for a job, and I happened to know, I had a casting at Fox at the time, Randy Stone, who I happened to call and said, I'm on my own now, and I need a job. And he said, well, we just finished casting this pilot called The X-Files that I think might get picked up. And if it gets picked up, I'd love to have it come in with Chris Carter. So, lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, he called me and said the pilot got picked up. I went in and I met Chris with several other casting directors, and for some reason he picked me, and that's sort of where the ball started rolling. So I did that. Obviously, I did that for 9 years. Actually, it turned into 11 years. We just did one more short little season that just finished airing this week. And then during that time, I did a lot of other things. I worked on Bones, of course, for 12 seasons. I worked on Married with Children for 2 seasons. Sabrina the Teenage Witch, I did that whole run. And then several pilots and other things at Fox and other various networks and studios throughout that time. So here I am at Howard Fine Studios.
Both here and in Australia.
And Australia.
Greetings to our studio in Australia. I know Marilyn McIntyre of our faculty is awake, and I'm going to give one of her questions in a moment.
Oh, good.
When an actor comes in simply for an interview portion before a reading, what turns you on, what turns you off in the chit-chat?
Well, just being yourself, somebody who's just showing who they are without putting on a show. And there are a lot of people that do put on a show that can get very annoying and very untruthful, and it takes you out of really caring who they are, you know, when somebody's putting on an act. And I think the most important thing when you walk into a room, in any situation, you know, whether it's casting, a job interview, anything, just be yourself. You know, that's what people want to see. That's what we're looking for, a specific person to hire to fulfill a specific role. And we want to see who that person is. So, you know, common sense says just be yourself. Don't put on an act.
Are headshots still important, and what makes a good headshot? Or
yeah, you know, it's funny. It's funny you say that, because so many times I like to have headshots, and so many actors say to me, "Oh, you still do this? You still take these?" Which I kind of find surprising. I mean, I know times have changed, and headshots I don't think are as important, but I think it's nice to have as reference. You know, especially after you've left the room and you're going through a day's session, and you need to refresh your memory of who you saw and who they are. So I think the headshot and resume is a great thing to always have. I don't think you always need it in every situation, because, you know, now that so much stuff is put on tape and you're in a room just with you and the actor and the camera operator, without producers and directors, and a lot of times we don't need those pictures at that time because we're just going to send a tape to producers. But I think it's nice to always have, because what if the producer has said to the casting directors, please send the pictures and resumes with the tape, or whatever. There's a million things, reasons why it could be asked for, so why not have it? I mean, I'm assuming everybody still has pictures and resumes, right? Yeah.
black and white versus color?
Well, color seems to be the thing now. I mean, there was that transition for a long time. When color started, it seemed to be, why are we doing color? It seemed a little pretentious. But now it's just because of what it is, I think that's what most people use now. I think it's pretty rare to see black and white now. I mean, you see it, but I think it's mostly color.
In terms of resumes, is there a particular layout of a resume you want to see, or what do you look for on a resume?
I just look for the name of the show and perhaps the director and whatever studio or network it is. It doesn't. You don't need to go into a lot of detailed description of what you played and how many lines you had and what, you know, whatever. But I think just the name of the show, if you were a guest star, a co-star, the studio, the network, and perhaps the director. I think that's pretty much it.
All right, we'll take a question from the audience. Bless you. This is from Daniel Miller. Daniel, stand. There we go. Every role now gets thousands of submissions. How do you pare that down to select the few who get to read for you?
Well, it's a good question, but it's something that we deal with every day. You know, we do get thousands of submissions every day for every role, and you know, you just learn over time. After doing this for so many years, you've learned to hone in what it is you're looking for any specific role. Now, a lot of times you want to take chances, you want to think outside the box, you want to be different without throwing it over the top. So it's challenging, and that's what makes our job as casting directors very challenging, is to hone in and pick those very special people that will fill any particular role. Now, to answer that question specifically, I really can't, because there's always a specificity for every role that changes with every role, so I'm always looking for something different. So in any specific time that I'm looking for a specific character, I may be looking for a specific height, a specific ethnicity, a specific feature. There's a million different things that you're always looking for. So I have that particular role in my head, and as I'm spinning through those thousands of pictures, I'm just trying to hone into who has those perfect qualities to fit that particular role. And you never know as an actor when your number's going to be called, right? And you're going to get that shot. And every casting director, you know, you could put 1,000 pictures for one specific role in front of 12 different casting directors, and 12 different casting directors are going to pick 12 different people. You know what I mean? Everybody's got different tastes, everybody's got different styles. So it's, you know, that's why we get hired, is because of our taste and our background and, you know, our track record of what we've accomplished. So to answer that question specifically is very difficult.
Sure.
But it just over time and over years and over practice, you learn to hone it in. And you know, many times you're not always 100% right. You know, sometimes we pick people and you think back and you think, maybe I should have picked this one and maybe not that one. You know, things like that happen, but you know, hopefully that doesn't happen. You know, hopefully we do pick the right people.
We are taking questions from our live audience here at the studio. We're taking questions from Facebook. Greetings to our studio in Australia, and this is from faculty member Marilyn McIntyre, who's
Hi,
teaching
Marilyn.
there.
Hi, Marilyn.
She says, hi, Rick. The gang from down under says hi. Actually, she says good day, but Americans cannot do Australian accents.
No.
The Australians do us well, but
It's the hardest accent to do us to them.
impossible.
I try
Right.
it all the time.
But she's trying to say good day. A fond memory, X-Files Millennium, Thomas J. Wright director. I had worked with him before, so you brought me straight to him and producers, and I got the role. Thank you, oh so many years later.
You're welcome.
Her question, what's the best advice you can give to a well-seasoned actor? We use that instead of age. Right? Who has been out of the country extensively over the past 5 years and hasn't been pursuing much television work during that time.
Come back. I mean, seriously, come back, and you got to jump back in. You know, out of sight, out of mind. You know, and I think it's true for anybody in this business. You know, we are all in probably one of the most competitive businesses in the world. Everybody wants to be in show business, and I think everybody, you have to be present. You have to be seen. You have to be in the middle of it. You have to be out and doing and going. And if you're not here, somebody else is here. So honestly, that's...
Although with self-tape, can submissions...
Well, yeah, you're right. Self-tape now is a big change in the way the business works now. So yes, self-tape helps, but still, I think you have to be present. I think you have to be around. I think you have to be in, because there's too much competition. There's too many people that are standing at the door ready to go, and if you're not here, like I said, somebody is here. And I think it just hurts your chances if you're not present and you're, you know, somewhere else. I think you need to be here, and you need to be seen. You need to have your face out in front of everybody.
In terms of an actor putting a demo reel together, what's your advice? What should it be? How long should it be? What should be first?
Demo reels, you know, demo reels are really tricky, and some people have really good ones, and some people have really bad ones. And the really good ones are, I think, very short, precise scenes that feature you and not a group of people. So we're trying to figure out who we're looking at. And people laugh when I say that, but you'd be surprised some of the things you get. You get these group scenes with a bunch of people in it, and you have no idea who you're looking at. So I think you have to make it very clear as to who you are, who's in the scene with you. Have it as professional looking as you can, good lighting, a good camera person, a good, you know, tight shot. Don't make it far away. Don't make it dark so you can't see the face, because that happens all the time. Something's really dark, you can't see who it is. The quality's bad, it's out of focus. I mean, these are all just simple, obvious things.
To you.
To
Not to
me,
everyone.
but you'd be surprised how much garbage gets sent that you can't, you know, seriously, I'm supposed to show this to a director and it looks like this. So make sure it is really good quality. You have somebody that you're working with that knows what they're doing. And when you look at it, does it look good? Does it look professional? Does it look real? Do I look real? Do I look good? Do I believe what I'm doing? You know, show it to a few friends before you send it out.
It used to be popular to have a montage at the beginning, and is that something you...
First of all,
want to see
montages,
again?
personally, I think are absolutely ridiculous. I hate montages because it's a waste of time. I want to see your acting ability. And I think you should start the tape with a scene immediately, forget the montages. Montages are so self-indulgent because I think you as an actor love to look at all those pictures of yourself in different costumes, in different settings, and it's fun for you. But when somebody's trying to cast you, we don't care about that. All we want to see is how you act. And I think that's really important. That's a good point, montages, because I think montages are ridiculous, because you always end up fast-forwarding through them anyway. So,
And how long should a reel be?
well, not long.
What will you sit through?
A couple minutes, I think, is a good amount of time. I think you can tell something in a couple minutes. Now, if you're, say, a character actor and you have a lot of different characters that you play believably, and I'm not saying just, playing different characters because you can put on a different hat and do a goofy face, but I'm saying if you're a real, true character actor and you do different things, then put a couple different things on. But I think you can just put, a couple different scenes, maybe a dramatic scene, a comedic scene, if you have those, and keep them short, simple, and concise. Because the truth is we're all sitting there looking at a billion tapes for a billion other things, and we don't have time to sit through 5, 10, 15 minutes and trying to find something that looks worthy of you. So make it short, quick, precise, and good.
We want to get this information out to as many actors as possible, so please share the page, give us likes and loves, and spread the word to your friends. This is from David Gorel, who's here.
Hi, David.
Hey, Rick.
How are you? Nice to see you.
How does an actor graduate from co-star to being considered for guest star, recurring, or series regular?
Luck. I mean, look, everybody starts somewhere as a co-star, up of course, and I think you just keep going, and hopefully that one guest star role that you're perfect for, you were the perfect guy for the perfect role at the perfect time, that it happens. I mean, there's no concrete formula, to say you do 6 co-stars and then your next one's a guest star. It just doesn't work that way. But you, with the age group that you're in, there are a lot of guest star parts for dads and workers, what have you, that you just have to be in the right place at the right time, and hopefully that role that you go in for is a guest star, and you get that guest star. But I think you just got to keep plugging along and do as many co-stars as you can, and not be that person that says, I'm not doing co-stars anymore.
Right.
Because I see that, people shoot themselves in the foot with that comment. I see a lot of actors that, I have friends that are actors that say, I just don't want to do co-stars anymore. It doesn't look good. Well, okay, would you rather be working? Would you rather sit at home waiting for the phone to ring?
Mm-hmm.
I think you might as well be out. You might as well be working, because you don't know who's on the set. You don't know what producer or writer is writing another show, or perhaps writing another pilot, and they see you say 2 lines that they go, oh my God, that guy could be perfect for what I'm writing next year. So I think you should always, like I was saying about Marilyn, you always have to be here, you always have to be working, you have to be out, you have to be seen, because you never know who's in the room at any given time.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is from Stevie Lopez, who's both from our Australian studio and now LA.
Hello.
G'day, I can do it.
That's how you do it.
He does it well.
That's how you do it. Can you teach us?
We can. What are your 3 pet peeves during the casting process?
3?
Oh dear.
There's a lot of them, but the whole thing about coming into an audition, it's really just about common sense. Going into somebody's office and being courteous and being professional and being polite and doing your job. Your job in an audition is to go in, audition, say thank you, and leave. That's really all you need to do. If that turns into a conversation from the casting director, they want to know more about you, they want to ask questions, great. Then engage with them. The casting director may be so busy they don't have time to talk. They just want to see what you do, and out you go, because they've got 50 other people to see. So you have to read the room. Come in, You're a guest in the person's office. If they look busy and they want to just see the audition, do it. Thank you, goodbye. Read the room, read the person, be professional, use common sense. Don't play bullshit games and ask stupid questions just because you want to chat. You know, if you have a legitimate question about what it is you're about to audition for, of course you can ask that question. If you don't understand something about the material or you don't understand the tone of the show, you know, you can certainly ask questions, but don't ask questions just to ask questions and be cute and charming and silly and funny. I think costumes are silly. You know, you can always suggest what you're going in for, but you don't have to wear a cop uniform if you're auditioning for a cop. And props are a little annoying because they're distracting. I don't think you need to do that. I mean, I can go on and on, but those are kind of the basic, you know, and be prepared. I think I forgot that one. That's the most important one. And you laugh, but you would be surprised, especially with co-star parts. You know, people with 1-2 line parts that have been sitting in the waiting room for half an hour, and they come in and they open their mouth and they forget the line. It happens all the time, and it always astonishes me that where are you? What? You had this material last night. You've been sitting in the waiting room for half an hour, and now you come in and you forgot the 2 lines. Yes, I know nerves take place and take over, but that's something that you have to practice and work on. But just be prepared. That's the biggest one.
I'm going to follow up on that. So if you're doing a series such as Bones, would you expect the actor to have seen the show so they know what?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think it's your job as an actor, and I think for all of us in this business, is to know, I mean, I make it a point to try to watch at least one of everything. God knows how hard that is now because there is so much on TV. But, you know, we have to know what's out there. And you as an actor, when you're going into audition for something, you have to know what the tone of the show is. You know, if you're auditioning for Bones versus auditioning for Law and Order, those are 2 different tones. You know, Bones had a lot of humor and a lot of comedy and a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff that, you know, many times we were looking for people with comedy, you know, people with comedy in a scene. Whereas, you know, if you're going in for The Handmaid's Tale, there's not much comedy there. You know, it's a lot straighter. So I think you have to know what the show is that you're auditioning for and what the tone of that show is, so you know where to place what it is you're doing in any particular scene.
Great. This is funneling on the Australian theme. This is from Stephanie McClellan. It's also here from our Australian studio. Is it advisable for international artists, Australians says it, to audition in their authentic voice prior to their read or maintain their US accent during the bulk of the audition?
You know, that's a good question because I've seen it work both ways, good and bad. I've seen people come in that have completely fooled me, you know, using an American accent, and I had no idea they're from Australia. I've had people come in using an American accent where I can hear the Australian accent. Then I've had people come in just with their Australian accent. They can't do an American accent, or they try to and it doesn't work. I think you have to take that upon yourself. If you're auditioning for an American role and you know specifically that they want an American accent and you're Australian, if you know that you're 100% perfect with an American accent and you can do it flawlessly, then I think yes, go into the room with your American accent. But if you can't, I think if you can't do it flawlessly, I don't think you should hide it. I think you should perhaps come in your natural tongue and then maybe switch over. I don't know. I think it's a personal thing, and how comfortable you are with the accent. Because I know a lot of Australians are really good at doing an American accent, and I know there's some that are not so good. You know, where it sneaks in, you can hear it, and then you go, "Are you hiding that?" You know, and that's a little, you know, it's just a moment of awkwardness. But you know, I've been fooled many times, and in a good way. You know, where people come in and they audition for me, then they audition for the producer and the director, and all of a sudden they decide to flip over, and I'm like, wait a minute, I have no idea. I've seen that happen. So I just think it's a personal, how comfortable are you with both accents? I mean, are you?
Personally,
Yeah.
at this level, I'd probably be more inclined to be authentic and then do the
And
work.
then switch over, yeah.
Yeah, at the stage that I'm
Yeah,
at personally.
yeah.
But I imagine it might change.
Well, and it can also, it can also be a conversation thing.
Yeah.
You come in with your Australian accent, and oh, you're from Australia. Where are you from? Okay, let's see your American accent. Rather than try to hide it and try to fool them, and then they catch you. It just depends on the situation. Right?
Thank you.
We're taking questions from our studio audience here. We're taking questions from Facebook. Please like the page, love the page, share the page. Let's get this information out to as many actors as possible. All right, this is from Facebook. This is from Lisa Zorn-Hemme. Do casting directors only look at talent with a theatrical agent for roles such as one-liners or others? Or is there a way to get seen for smaller roles without an agent?
Well, we use agents to find talent. That's the way the business works. There are times that, we see people that don't have agents, but those are usually referrals from people that know somebody where you see this person, and, I don't particularly go, I know there's that Actors Access on Breakdown where actors can just submit. I think the only time I really use that is when I'm looking for something really specific that's out of the ordinary, if it's something really difficult to find. But mostly we don't have, that's really our only tool to gain access to actors is through agents. So 99% of the time is yes, it's through an agent. Is it impossible to be seen without an agent? No. How do you do that? I don't know. As an actor, I don't know how you get yourself into a casting director's office unless you just happen to show up at the right time where they're looking for somebody like you. I don't recommend walking into a casting director's office and dropping off pictures. But, I've seen it happen. And, you never know at what moment, at what time any casting director is looking for something specific. You happen to walk in at the right moment with your picture. Hey, come here, read. I'm not recommending anybody do that, but I think as an actor you got to do what you got to do to get seen.
Are there managers who submit too? Do you oversee submissions?
Managers do submit. I mean, they're not supposed to, but they do, and we get them and we look through them. But yes, generally it's through agents, and I think you as an actor, it's kind of one of the first things you really have to do is find an agent, and that's a whole other world that I can't. I don't know how you find an agent. That's not what I do. I know agents go out and scour talent and go to plays and theater workshops and all that stuff. But I know it's hard. But it's just part of the business that you have to figure out and make work.
This is from Sean McGee, who's here. There he is.
Hey, Sean.
Please tell me your advice on non-annoying ways to develop a working relationship with casting directors.
Avoiding some of the nonsense you were alluding to earlier.
Well, I mean, that's like anything in life, just making friends. How do you make friends with people? Being social and going out and going to functions and going to, I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that question. Because you certainly can't pick up the phone and just call a casting director randomly and say, hi, I want to be your friend. That's not going to happen. But I think that's like for all of us in this business. I have to develop relationships with producers and casting executives, and there's ways to do it and there's ways not to do it. And I think everybody has their own sort of MO, and you have to figure that one out. There's no concrete answer for that.
This is from Ryan Adams, who's watching from, it says, from Lake Tahoe. Oh, okay. What are your feelings about an actor being SAG eligible versus SAG. Does that make a difference in your casting?
No, not necessarily. I mean, look, the truth is, you know, we want to find the best person for the role. If you happen to be the perfect person for this role and you're SAG eligible means that you just have to join, right? I mean, you just have to pay your dues. So there's a difference if you're not SAG eligible and you're just non-union. That throws a loop into it, because then I have to Taft-Hartley you, and that gets a little tricky sometimes. But if you're SAG eligible, that just means you have to pay your dues and you join. That's not going to make a difference to me. I mean, if a SAG eligible person is right for the role, I'll make it work. Now, if somebody's non-union, I can still make it work, but there has to be a specific reason why I'm hiring you over a union actor, because I have to write it into, on the SAG Taft-Hartley form, the exact reason why I'm hiring you. And if they don't agree, then they can fine you. So you kind of stay away from that.
This is from Sam Levine, who's watching in Boston. Are you ever reluctant to cast an actor with few credits despite a good audition?
Am I reluctant to? No. I mean, again, if your audition nails a part and you're that perfect person for that part, I don't care if it's your first job. You know, I've hired a lot of people for their first jobs. I remember reading Chris Pine. He pre-read when I was doing The Guardian. I think he had done one thing before. He auditioned for me. I didn't know who he was. I brought him in for the producers. He got the job. Next pilot season, I go to check his availability, and they say, "Oh, he's not doing TV now."
Isn't that always
Rhode
the
Island's company?
One of mine.
Yes, one of your friends. But yeah, I mean, and that was, you know, Chris didn't have a lot of credits at the time, but he kind of blew me away, and it was just a guest star part in an episodic TV show, and that's off he went. Same thing with Chloe Moretz. When she was 9 years old, she came in and read for The Guardian when I was doing that show, and she hadn't done anything, and she got the part, and we all know where she is now. You know?
Well, that begs a follow-up. What do you look for when they come into the room with their audition? Is it something?
You know,
presence?
it's just something. It's just that thing. It's just that, you know, stardust or whatever everybody calls it. There's just people. It just happens. There's a magic that happens when somebody just nails a part, or when that talent is there. It just pops out at you. You know, we sit and pre-read people all day long. You know, just to find people for a role. And so many people come in, and so many people are just okay and mediocre. But when somebody has that thing, it just pops out at you. You know, it's like someone just smashing you over the head, and you go, "Oh my God, where did you come from? What is that?" You know, there's the sense of believability, of truthfulness that people bring to a role where they're not acting, they're being. And they're creating a character for this role that you believe everything about it. You believe everything they say. You believe, you know, there's a whole story there. And it's so refreshing when that walks in the office.
Because I think so much of what passes for training in Los Angeles is tools to market, audition workshops where they teach people how to be clever and cute.
Yeah.
And can you spot that?
Oh, yeah.
Quickly?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, again, look, we do this all day long. And if you sat and did this all day long too, you see it. You know, you see the people that come in that are full of shit, that don't know what they're doing, and they think they're being cute. And then you see true talent walk in the room. And when true talent walks in the room, there's a professionalism, there's a groundedness to them that, you know, there's a confidence. They know what they're doing. They believe what they're doing. They believe what they're saying. They believe the character they're playing. And if they believe it, obviously, I'm going to believe it. And some people are really good at it, and some people aren't so good at it. And there's a lot of people that want to do this. You know, you guys have all picked a profession where there's, I don't know what the number is in SAG now.
98% unemployment.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't work. And it's a very,
It's the truth.
I mean, it's, you know, you laugh, but it's the truth. And everybody thinks they're a good actor. And I think obviously you have to believe that as an actor. You have to believe in yourself. I get that. But there's a reality of some people are really good at it, and some people just aren't really good at it. And yes, I think you can hone and work and study and build your craft, but there's some people that just have that natural ability that is just instinctually there. And yay for them. I think the rest of us have to work at it a little harder. And again, it's that being in the right place at the right time for that particular role that just happens to work for you. Because every character, every role can fit some person, and maybe that person is you.
Please like the page. Please give us love. Share it. We have an industry expert, and this information is invaluable to anybody interested in this profession. This next question is from our studio in Australia. How much weight does a specific agency hold? Do you pick and choose based on major agencies versus boutique?
Well, it depends what I'm casting. If I'm casting a pilot for series regular roles, you know, the big leading roles, mostly we're going to look at the big agencies, the William Morris's and UTAs and CAs and all that. But when you're casting episodic television for guest stars, you know, then you're in a different tier, because people at those bigger agencies generally don't do guest star parts. So there's the boutique agencies, the other agencies that you go to for, you know, the guest star roles. Then there's another tier of agents that you go to for the co-star roles, for the 1-2 line parts. You know, there's different tiers of where different agencies have different types of people that you're looking for. So it depends
On the part.
on the part and what it is I'm casting.
This is from Ian. Is this Ian Cardoni? Okay. In lieu of major credits, what else can stand out to you and help you call an actor in?
Special skills.
Yeah, but
I don't know. No, I say special skills because I had some producers that their favorite thing was to read the special skills and just laugh at everything. I'm sorry, say the question.
Besides major credits, are there other things on a resume that might stand out, or reel, or anything that might help get you to call them in?
On a resume.
On a resume or a reel, or anything that gets your attention.
I mean, obviously credits are a big thing to have. You know, I mean, when I'm looking for, you know, people to do guest star work, it's nice to see that somebody has done a guest star part. But, you know, there's always that first time where somebody gets a guest star role that maybe has only been done a bunch of co-star parts. If your face happens to spark my interest for a particular part, and it's a guest star role and you've only done co-stars, I might take a chance and bring you in and try you for it. It just depends how much time I have on a specific episode, or if I have a group of people that I know can play this part already, that I don't need to take a chance with somebody else right now. It depends if there's a specific feature to this character that I need that maybe you have that not everybody else has, so I'm going to take a chance and try you out. There's not anything specific that you can really do to, you know, pop out at us, but you know, you don't want to lie ever on a resume. I think you just have to put down what you have, and hopefully that'll get you in the door.
Does social media make any difference in casting? Somebody's followers?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe if it's like a lead in a TV show and in a pilot where there's somebody that has some huge following that may work in a specific show that's going to bring some numbers to a network, perhaps. But I don't think on a general, normal basis that social media really has anything to do with anything. At least not for me. You know, it doesn't, just because you've got 10,000 followers, does that mean you're going to be a good actor for this part? I don't think so.
I think we're all encouraged by what you just said. And I know there are some folks who've tried gimmicks on YouTube to get attention or any of those
Well,
things.
okay, but look, YouTube has been a platform for many successful people. You know, there are many outlets now where you can, you know, make a little film and throw it out there and hopefully somebody sees it. I think that is something that is a tool that everybody can use now. And if you have an idea and you think it's something that's going to show you off in a positive way and somebody can see it and get you in for something, yeah, I think that, in that regards, I think social media is a good thing.
As a platform.
As a platform to create
talent.
something for yourself, to get yourself out there to be seen. I mean, there's all these YouTube people now that, you know, they just make these little videos and they get all these followers and they get advertisers and they get paid, and, you know, there's a whole business out there for that. And, you know, I do believe that there are, you know, studio and network casting executives that may, you know, fish through all this YouTube stuff to see maybe there is a sensation out there that they can find. I personally don't do that all the time. You know, maybe some casting directors do. I think if you have time, you can do it. But again, you know, we're so busy with everything we're doing, you know, we're just dealing with agents and, you know, talent that we know, and that's pretty much what we do, so.
We're taking questions from the live audience. We're taking questions from Facebook Live. Please share the page, give us likes and loves, expose this conversation to as many actors as possible. I'm getting questions hot off the press from Facebook. This is from someone in the room, Pamela Gardner. Okay, you're there. If you haven't worked for years, but have resumed classes, how do you recommend an honest resume?
Well, how do I recommend an honest resume? An honest resume is an honest resume. I mean, you have what you have, and you have to use that. You can't make up a bunch of stuff and just throw it on there.
No, that was not my intention at all.
Yeah.
But did you say 90s or late 80s or like what?
Wait, what do you mean? That was the years that you were working? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I actually studied starting with Howard Fine Studios when Heidi Helen Davis was here, and you know, things happened and life.
Yeah.
But I'm back, and
I think you just got to throw it out there, you know, and get yourself out, and hopefully it'll all come back. But you know, your resume is what it is. I don't think you need to make a big issue about I've been out of the business. Just just go. Just jump in and swim. Go with that, keep going.
This is
Thank you.
from Cam Cowper. He's a student here in our Thursday masterclass, but he's writing in for Facebook. What are your thoughts on the use of sides? I've heard it can scare a casting director if I don't use my sides or put them down because I'm off book, as though I'm not open to direction. Do you feel these ideas are valid?
Sides. Sides are a tool for you. Here's the truth. There are some actors when they audition that are really good at memorizing, and they can come in a room and read a scene with no sides in their hand. It's clean, it's precise, it's done, it's perfect. There's a lot of actors that are really good at doing that. There's a lot of actors that aren't really good at doing that, and they need the sides. I think you can always have the sides in an audition. But I will say, the people that come in and have the scene memorized, and it's clean and cut and perfect, that's what a director wants. I mean, a director sees that and goes,
Thank you.
thank you, that's what I want, and I don't have to work with, I don't have to worry about this person, they'll know it. It's a good thing. If you can do that, if you can come into a room and you know you have it memorized, I think it's a good idea. But I don't think it's a bad idea to always have it handy in case you go up. Because you don't want that awkward moment of you don't have the sides in your hand and you forget. Then it's like, well, then why don't you have the sides in your hand? So it's up to you. You know, your objection in there is to go in and do a very clean audition. So whatever it is that you need to make that happen, do what you need to make that happen. If you need the size in your hand, great. If you don't need the size in your hand, even better. but at least don't read everything word for word for word. And that, trust me, that happens a lot. Try to learn some of it.
In other words, it has to be better than a reading.
Yes, exactly. And you laugh, but I see it all the time.
It's one of the hardest jobs in the business, you should know, because you see you're the front line of seeing such a range. You would think everybody would step up for their shot every time.
Well, there's a lot of people that take the audition process for granted. You know, even seasoned actors will come in. You know, a lot of actors that have worked for years and years and years, and then they have to come in and audition again. I see a lot of times they come in and they think, I don't really have to do this. Everybody knows who I am, and they sort of wing it. And they leave the room, and everybody goes, what was that? And it's like, well, you know who it is. You've seen it. Yeah, but I'm not hiring if that's what they're going to do. So, you know, you can never take any situation, audition situation, for granted. You always have to be 100% ready and prepared. Always.
Great. This is from George Lavoie. Okay, there you are.
Hey.
What are some of the top frustrations, challenges for casting directors in the casting process? What are your greatest joys?
Well, you've heard some of the challenges already. The greatest joy as a casting director is that moment when somebody comes in the room and just makes a part come to life. That is, and then I get to bring you to the director, and the director agrees with me, and they hire you, you get the job, and it goes on the screen, and it comes out brilliantly. Those are the joys that make what we do very exciting. And especially if it's somebody that's new. You know, if I find somebody that's brand new, that's never done anything, and I put them up there, they get the job, and they perform, and they execute, and it comes out great, that's what makes what we do very exciting. And, you know, even on a daily basis, just finding talent to bring to a producer session to make everybody happy is the joy of casting. The frustrating part is getting to that part. You know, weeding through what we have to weed through to find those gems every week. You know, it's very difficult. It is a very hard job, because especially when you're casting like I've done many long-term series where we don't use people twice. So I'm constantly having to find new people. And I do have to read a lot of new faces because I've used so much talent. So I do read a lot of new people and people brand new to the town. And I do find talent that works. And that's the exciting part of what we do, is when you find new faces that rise up, and, you know, like Chris Pine. Situations like that. You know, he was new, hadn't done anything, and now look, he's a huge star. So that's the exciting part of what we do.
Thank you.
This is from Facebook. We're taking questions from the live audience. We're taking questions from Facebook. Please submit your questions, like the page, love us, share us, get actors on this talk. This is from Alex Smith from Facebook. How should one handle a large action scene in a self-tape? For example, some form of physical altercation, or a, this must have happened to her, or a submarine jerking you backwards. Great question. You know, when a submarine comes to an abrupt stop, we all know that.
Someone in the background saying, dive, dive. That's a good question. And even not even on tape, but even in a room, I think you have to be careful with action scenes because they can tend to get very silly and unnecessary. And especially on a tape, you got to be careful that you're in the frame. You don't need to be jumping out of frame and falling on the ground so you can't see what you're doing. Because the truth is when you're looking at it, it looks silly and it looks comical. And what ends up happening is people that are watching it are laughing at it and not watching what it is you're trying to do. So I think you have to be very careful with action and don't make a big deal out of action. Make sure the important thing is you're in the scene and you're doing what has to happen. If an earthquake's happening, you can mimic an earthquake happening. But if you're being thrown against the wall and someone's punching you out and You know, you don't have to do all that. That will come when you get the job.
And that's probably true in the live audition as well.
Yeah,
Just
and in
don't
a
get
live
carried away
audition,
with it.
don't get carried. Don't throw yourself on the floor and onto someone's desk.
Has that happened to you?
Oh God. I mean, I can go on.
I'm sure. Well, we'll share one. We've got to hear without saying who.
There's been so many.
You've actually had somebody throw themselves on your desk.
Oh yeah. Good Lord. I've been undressed
What?
in a scene.
No.
This
No.
Okay, this is the best one. This is one of my best. I was doing a pilot many, many years ago with Fred Silverman. It was for Showtime way back when, and it was a scene where it was a bedroom scene with a husband and a wife where they were getting in bed, and they were about to have sex. And we were auditioning. It was like final auditions where I'm sitting at a table with the producers, the director, Fred Silverman, all the executives are here, and the actor was sitting across the table from me, this woman. And in the scene, she's undressing her husband. So she's reading the scene, and she reaches across the table and she starts taking my shirt down, my shirt. And I'm just sort of going with it for a second because I'm like, okay. And then it's got like really uncomfortable because all I could feel was everybody's looking at me. So I'm like, okay, stop. And I can feel the chairs shaking as everyone's laughing. I said, you don't need to reach across, you don't need to undress me, thank you. So we start the scene again, and she starts to do it again.
Oh my God.
And so I had to stop and say, it just got very uncomfortable, and everybody's laughing at me because I'm, 18 shades of red, and it was embarrassing. She didn't get the part. But, you laugh at that, and it's, when I think back of it, I'm back on it, I can't even believe it happened. The audacity
To do that.
and think it's appropriate.
And has anyone hit you in a violent scene?
No, I haven't been hit. I remember I remember when I was being married with children, I had my assistant reading with a girl who was supposed to be what was her part? She was like a stripper or something shocking. And this girl had a sundress on, and she had to slap she was slapping the person opposite her, and my assistant was reading, and she went to slap her, and this dress was so loose that when she went to slap her, the whole thing opened out, and everything was just right there, on display. So that was a little entertaining.
A wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to revisit these because these are gems.
Yeah, I have to, if I think
If another one comes up. But it's also good to hear what never to do.
Props. I've had guns.
You have
knives.
guns.
Yeah, don't ever bring stuff like that. And people still bring them. Plastic things. It's especially today. Don't even. You don't have to bring props at all, unless it's something that's that you have to have. You don't need it, and it's distracting because everybody's looking at it. And what's that? What's that? It's unnecessary. It just takes away from what you're doing.
We're taking questions from Facebook Live. Please like our page. Please share us. This is from our audience here, Jai Prishkolnik.
Hi.
Regarding diversity in casting in Hollywood's climate today, how do those of us with hidden diversity compete?
Well, listen, diversity is a big issue right now. It's a very important issue. And it's something that everybody, all of us, are very conscious of and very supportive of. And I think people of ethnicity and diversity right now are in a good place because it is such a very spoken issue at the moment. Now, so I'm assuming you have some diversity in you somewhere.
Right. I'm pure Caucasian. I'm Middle Eastern, Italian, and Spanish from both my parents' sides.
I would put that on your resume.
Okay.
I think it's important because there are times when we're casting because we do have to, there's a criteria that we try to maintain of diversity in everything that we do now. And there are times where you look at someone's picture and you're not sure, is this person diverse? Is this going to count as diversity? And then you have to call the agent and ask. But if you have someone like you, I would put it on your resume, absolutely, because that's a plus for you in today's world.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
Great. And sitting right next, I see Miki Yamashita. Miki also comes to us from the world of opera.
Wow, really?
Yes. Hit a note, Miki.
Go.
Yes.
Yes, she
Anyway,
does.
yes. LA Opera. She's at the LA Opera. When casting guest stars and recurring characters in a reboot of a series such as The X-Files, what would be the biggest differences in casting trends that actors competing for roles in such shows should be aware of between the original series and the reboots?
Well, I mean, the original series, we have the original people. So in this reboot, we were just casting new guest stars, essentially. We didn't really add any series regulars. So there's nothing to, I was just looking for new guest stars. You know, whatever was in that script that week, that's what I was looking for. But it really had nothing to do with what had happened before, because all those people, we just brought people back from the original series. Is that?
But with the guest star and recurring and co-star level, are there any overall trends in casting that had to be incorporated this time around versus years ago?
No, I mean, it's all the same. You know, we're doing the same thing I was doing 25, 30 years ago. The only difference is the technology now. You know, there's so many more different technological ways that we get submissions and putting people on tape and sending tapes everywhere, and approvals that we have to get. That's really the only difference in the trends that has really changed over the years, and just many, many more actors. You know, the competition just gets more and more. You know, gets bigger and bigger every year.
When you are doing a series, how much time do you have to cast an episode?
10 minutes. No, every episode takes 8 days to shoot. So let's say day one, I get a script. You know, and the producers and directors, they have to, you know, do wardrobe and locations and sets and all that. So they, through those 8 days, they're scouting locations, they're approving sets, they're doing all that. In the first couple days of those 8 days, I'm gathering my thoughts, I'm pre-reading people, I'm getting a whole group of actors to bring in for a producer session that will normally happen on the 3rd or 4th day. Depending how well those sessions go, I can be done in, you know, the 3rd or 4th day. If we don't find everybody, you know, we'll go into the 5th, the 6th day. But usually by the 6th day, we're pretty much done. And then day 8 happens, and then day 1 starts, and we get the next script for the next episode, and we start all over again. So every episode is 8 days, but essentially I have 4 to 5 days to get it done.
Have you ever had producers change what they were looking for in the middle of casting?
Oh yeah, happens all the time. You know, they were looking for a Caucasian man to play this doctor, and then they say, let's get an African American woman, you know, at the last, after they've seen a whole session of people, and then you have to go back to the drawing board and start all over. It happens, and it also happens depending on sometimes what an actor brings to the room. Somebody will come in with a completely different way and do something differently than what's on the page, and they go, oh, maybe we should change it to that to fit that person, because that kind of worked. And that's sort of our job. What we try to do when we bring people in is to bring a nice little diversity of people for each part, in case something like that could happen. You know, and it's being creative, you know, and it's kind of fun, rather than just go straight down the line and just do the typical, you know, nurse number 2. Let's ramp it up and make it something different. And that happens.
Do you have time to give representation feedback on the actors that come in?
Representation feedback?
You know, to tell the agent or the manager how the actor did.
Oh, If, like, when the agent calls?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Because when you're in the middle of series.
Especially during pilot season, when you're doing a pilot, it's really tough because there's so much going on. I try to give feedback. If I don't, I'll tell, my assistant's in the room, and sometimes I'll just say, you were there, you tell them what happened, you saw. I try to be as courteous as I can, because I know agents are trying to feel out how their client's doing. Do I want to keep this person? Do I not? And it's important for them to know. I don't always get around to all of it, but I try to.
Right. This is from George Christopher. Oh, okay.
Hey, George.
Do you and or your associates open or look at unsolicited submissions, or do they go straight to the trash?
Did I just answer that question? They get opened. I try to look at everything, just because, what if? There's always that what if. You never know what's going to be in that envelope. So I try to look at everything. I don't always have time to look at the mail, because I'm usually buried in the breakdowns and going through all that stuff. But yes, the mail comes in and my assistant opens it and there it is, and sometimes I'll look through it and sometimes I won't. But I personally like to look at it just because of what I just said. What if there's something, a little gem in there? Everybody always has to start somewhere. And maybe there's another Chris Pine in that envelope right there. You know what I mean? So it happens. It happens where it gets seen, but it doesn't happen all the time. Most of the time you don't have time to go through all that mail. And we get a lot of it, obviously.
This is from Ever Prishkolnik. What are the biggest pitfalls an actor can fall into in the room, and how does the actor recover within the same audition? Have you ever seen that, where somebody fell apart but pulled it back together?
Mm-hmm. I have seen that happen. People have bad days. I've seen many good people, seasoned, well-read actors come in and blow an audition and stop and say, hold on, let me start again. And they start again and they nail it. I've also seen it go the other way, where they stop and they start and it just gets worse and worse and worse. Once the nerves kick in and you're out of it, I've seen people completely fall apart. And good working actors. It happens. I get that. I understand when you walk in a room how intimidating it is, especially if you're new and you haven't done a lot of auditions. You're sitting in front of 5 or 6 people that are just staring at you, and the camera's rolling, and obviously you want to get this job, and there's a lot at stake for you. It's just something that you have to, as you're going through this process, it's something that you just have to work on. Auditioning is a very specific technique. There's a lot of good actors that are bad auditioners, and vice versa. There's a lot of good auditioners that kind of are not so good, but they can fake it. I've seen a lot of people fake it and get hired, and then we go, oops, that was a mistake. But auditioning is tricky. It's scary. It's intimidating. It's not normal, but it's just something you have to keep practicing and add to your repertoire of skills, is learning how to audition. So you can walk in a room and be comfortable and be present and let the nerves not take over for you, because there are a lot of people that are really good at that. And we as a casting team, meaning my producers and directors, are looking for those people that you can bring on a set that are not going to freak out, they're not going to blow it and not going to fall apart, that are going to perform and bring the role to life.
Great.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great. We're taking a few final questions from Facebook, from our audience here for casting director and industry expert, Rick Millikan. This is from Facebook. It's from Brooke Becker. I have been advised to make bold choices during auditions, but have received various explanations on what that means. Could you give me an example of an audition that stood out to you in a good way?
By someone making a bold choice. Yeah, bold choices are, you should have bold choices in your head in what you're doing, but you also have to be careful that a bold choice doesn't turn into something over the top and not believable and silly and not right. Because yeah, the truth is we are seeing 30, 40, 50 people for a role, and it's nice when somebody does something that stands out, that brings something to life that's different than what everybody else is doing. And when I do workshops and stuff, I tell actors, try to think of things or try to have something that happens that's different than what everybody else is doing. On the other hand, you got to be careful with that it's not something different
Just for the sake
of being different that's unbelievable and is not real. And that's something you have to be really careful with. I mean, I have seen, and I'm trying to think of specific auditions, and I've seen so many auditions in my life, where somebody has done a bold choice and has gotten the part. I mean, I've obviously seen it many times. I can't think of a specific thing at the moment, but yeah, I mean, bold choices is a good thing, but it can be a bad thing. You have to be really...
Can't be a gimmick.
It can't be a gimmick. It's got to work. It's got to be believable. It has to be truthful to what you're doing, to the scene. And if you're not sure, maybe you have a friend or a teacher that you trust, that you can maybe show it to and say, do you believe this? Do you not? Try that.
Good. This is also from Facebook. This is from Edward Gelhaus. Hello, Edward. In regards to self-tapes, do you want to see personality via slate, or would you rather just see the character? Do you see a disadvantage with self-tapes, or is it a tool that you are using?
Is that two different questions?
Yeah.
In regards to self-tapes, do you want to see personality via slate, or would you rather see the character? So this is just asking about a slate.
Yeah.
The first part.
Yeah.
Slate is just saying your name. And personally, I don't think slates are necessary as long as we know who you are. I mean, if it says your name in the thing, great. I don't think you have to do a slate. But do I see a disadvantage with self-tapes? Self-tapes are used all the time now. I mean, we look at self-tapes constantly because they are available. And a lot of people aren't always available to come to an audition. A lot of people are out of country or out of state, especially during pilot season. You cast the net so wide, you're looking at everything. So you're looking at tapes all the time. I think it behooves everybody to have access to a very good self-tape studio situation, whether it's at your house or somebody's studio, because it's the nature of the business now. It's very easy for everyone to look at tape, and sometimes it's easier for producers to look at tapes rather than sit through people coming through the room. I know a lot of times when I'm casting an episode, directors from other shows will come in, because I always cast in person with the producer and the director. A lot of times they'll come in and say, "Oh, we're seeing actors in person?" Like, what do you mean? He goes, "Oh, when I did whatever show I just came off of, we only looked at tapes.
All self-tape.
It was all tapes." And I hear that more and more often, that a lot of shows only look at tapes now. So it just depends on individual shows. I happen just to, what I've recently worked on has been with people in the room. But yes, self-tapes are obviously here, very present, and a good tool for everybody, and you should have access to that.
This is from Australia. It's from Sally McLean, and Sally has worn many hats: actor, producer, writer, director. So I'm thinking she's phrased the question about that. What are your thoughts on actors being multi-hyphenates? Actor, writer, director, producer, etc. Is it better to not mention the other roles undertaken on projects and just focus on the acting? Or is it useful to mention it to your show on the proactive side?
Well, I mean, look, obviously I'm only looking for the actor part of you. As a conversation piece, sure, I mean, you can put it on there. If she's asking to put on your resume, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Or ever maybe mention it when you go in to read.
If it comes up, I mean, if I'm in the mood to talk, if I have the time to talk, you can certainly bring it up. It's not important to me, I'm just looking for the actor at the moment. I'm not looking to hire the writer or the director. I personally am looking to hire the actor. I think, I don't see that it hurts for her to mention that or put that on a resume. Why not? I mean, it is part of what you're doing. It's a special skill. You never know when someone's on the team might be looking for a writer.
Okay, good. Nice that you're up this early, Sally.
I was going to say, what time is it?
It's
in Australia?
it's just after 9, about 9:15 in the morning on Sunday.
Cool.
No. This is from someone in the audience here. This is Brooklyn Wallace. Okay, this is a question about agencies, so I don't know about your response. For talent seeking representation, what is a recommended timeline for resubmitting to an agency?
Or, I don't know if casting agencies are still accepting actor postcards that actors used to mail in, but
Yeah.
is there a timeline where it's persistent but not annoying?
Just don't do it every day. There was a guy that used to send a card every single day, and this went on for years, but it became such a joke because we kept them all. And it was unbelievable. Every single day it would come. I don't. Yeah, just again, common sense. You don't want to be in somebody's face and become annoying. You don't want to be an annoyance because that will go away quickly. So, if something has changed, if you just did something on a show, if you're doing a play, if you're on something and you have something to say, then send one out. But I wouldn't send one out every week just to send it out. And it's just sitting on somebody's desk, and it kind of gets annoying when you see the same postcard come every day. Although I do remember Mark Ruffalo, before he became Mark Ruffalo, I remember he was a big postcard sender. Because I remember seeing Mark Ruffalo postcards all the time back in the old days.
He was doing theater a lot too. So.
Yeah, he was doing a lot of theater. I think he would send things out when he was doing stuff, but I remember in the old days always seeing those Mark Ruffalo cards. Kind of worked for him. But, just common sense.
This is from Nina Nouri.
I mean,
What is the best way to network and meet casting directors besides SAG?
hence his question. It's a good question. I mean, we all have our different lives and everybody's doing different things, and there's not one little place we all gather on Friday and Saturday nights. I don't know how to answer that question. We don't have we have board meetings, but actors don't come to it.
You think
But-
socializing in general, the party circuit, or any of that works?
Well, I suppose so. Any contact in this business for any of us is a good thing. The more people people like to hire their friends. So, being out and being social and meeting people is a good thing. So you just have to be out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What is a typical day for you when you are casting a series?
A typical day.
When does it
I get up,
begin?
I walk my dogs.
You have a cute new puppy.
My cute little puppy, yes. A typical day is, it depends where I am on the schedule, but going through submissions, setting up readings for the next day, reading people, having a producer session, picking people, negotiating deals, hiring people, starting all over again. It's pretty much reading. You're looking at talent all day long. You're going through submissions all day long. You're looking for new faces all day long. You're looking to be creative. You're looking for different. You don't want to be casting the typical thing every week. You're finding different ways to make different roles fun and different, and trying to think outside the box all the time, But it's a lot of, I just see a lot of actors all day long, is really what I do.
Will anyone in your office or you ever go out to theater or showcases? Or
Yeah.
so?
No, I go to theater. I tend to go to theater that I'm told to go to theater, that I'm told is worth seeing, instead of just going. I mean, if somebody tells me that there's somebody really good in a specific show or there's something that I should go see, then I usually do that. I do those showcases occasionally, those actual workshops, which I think is informative for both of us, because I learn a lot from you as much as you learn from us. I'm going to New York in a couple weeks to see a bunch of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I try to go to as much theater as I can. I try to watch as much TV, go to as many movies as I can. I mean, it's tough now because there's so much product out and there's so many things on television now. It's a little overwhelming, but you know, it's what we got to do.
Do you have, as we wrap, any final thoughts or something you want to share?
You know, I just think that, you know, we've all picked a business that is a highly, highly competitive business that can be very rewarding and very fun. It can also be very frustrating, you know, and I think you just have to believe in yourself. You have to be persistent. You have to be present. You have to use common sense. Common sense. Common sense. I say common sense all the time because I'm amazed at how much common sense people don't use every day in every aspect of this business. But when that all works and you know all the pieces come together, it can be really fun and very rewarding. But there's a lot of us doing it, and you got to keep going, and you got to be present. You got to be here. And good luck.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.